Hello and welcome to this video. We're going to be completing form I-765, application for employment authorization. We're going to go all the way down here, and I am taking it that it's the applicant that's completing the form, so we're going to be starting here. You're required to type or print in black ink. Part 1, reason for applying. So you have 3 reasons here. 1A, initial permission to accept employment. This is for first-time applicants for work authorization. 1B, replacement of lost, stolen, or damaged employment authorization document or correction of my employment authorization document not due to U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services, uscis error. You can read the other section in your own time. And then the third option is 1C, renewal of my permission to accept employment. Attach a copy of your previous employment authorization document. So that's self-explanatory. If your employment authorization document expired and you would like to renew it, this is the option you would select. In this case, we are looking at an applicant who is applying for the first time, so we select 1A. We scroll down to part 2, information about you, and this is information about the applicant. You're required to put your full legal name in this section. You're starting with your last name, your first name, and then your middle name. We're going to continue on this page. Other names used. Provide all other names you have ever used, including aliases, maiden name, and nicknames. If you need extra space to complete this section, use the space provided in part 6, which is a section for additional information. So you will notice that the applicant has never used any other names. In the sections, we're putting NA, indicating not applicable. If this section is applicable to you, then you would need to put the names as the section requires. You would be starting with your last name, then your first name, followed by your middle name. If any section is not applicable to you, indicate not applicable, or NA as you see displayed here. We're continuing on the other page. This is part 2. And your U.S. mailing address is required in this section. In care of name, if any. So if you have someone collecting your mail at a particular address, then you would put the person's name here. For this applicant, it's not applicable, so we indicate as such. You're going to place your street number here. So this is the applicant's address. You're placing your street number here. In this case, the applicant lives in an apartment, so we indicate as such. If any other section is applicable to you, suite or floor, you would indicate as such. If none of these applies to you, then you would not put anything here. You would not select any of the boxes. And you would also put not applicable or NA here. Since the applicant lives in apartment 25, it's demonstrated here. You're required to put city or town, select your state, and put your zip code here. Moving on. Is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? You have the option to select either yes or no. In this case, the applicant's mailing address is the same as her physical address, so it's indicated here as yes. If you answered no to item number 6, provide your physical address below. Since we answered yes, then this section would not be applicable. If your answer is no, then you would be required to fill in this section from 7A to 7E. Moving on. 8. Alien registration number, if any. In this case, the applicant does not have one, so we indicate none. USCIS online account number, you would put that in the space if you have one. In our case, it's none, so we indicate as such. Gender of the applicant, you select your gender here. Marital status of the applicant, you select your marital status here. Have you previously filed form I-765? So since this is a first-time applicant, the answer would definitely be no. If it's a renewal document, then you would be putting yes here. As the Social Security Administration, SSA, ever officially issued a Social Security card to you, you indicate what's applicable to you. In this case, it's no. If you answer no to item number 13A, skip to item number 14. Since we did answer no, we're going to skip to item number 14. So item number 14, do you want the SSA to issue you a Social Security card? And our answer is yes. If you answered no to item number 14, skip to part 2, item number 18A. If you answered yes to item number 14, you must also answer yes to item number 15. Since we answered yes to item 14, we are going to have to answer yes here. And item 15 is consent for disclosure. I authorize disclosure of information from this application to the SSA as required for the purpose of assigning me an SSN and issuing me a Social Security card. So SSN here means Social Security number. If you answered yes to item numbers 14 to 15, provide the information requested in item numbers 16A to 17B. Since our answer is yes to the sections, then we are going to continue to provide answers in these sections. Provide your father's birth name. So the applicant's father's birth name goes here. We're starting with the last name and then the first name. Then in 17A, we're required to put the applicant's mother's name. Family name or last name first. First name goes into the section in 17B. We're continuing. Your country or countries of citizenship or nationality. List all countries where you are currently a citizen or national. If you need extra space to complete this section, use the space provided in Part 6, Additional Information. So we see the country of the applicants is Trinidad, and there is no other country of citizenship for this applicant, so 18B is not applicable. So you're going to state your country of citizenship in 18A, and if you are a citizen of more than one country, then you would add the others in subsequent sections. So in 18B, as well as in Part 6, additional information if you require more space. We're moving on. Place of birth. List the town. List the city, town, village, state or province and country where you were born. 19A, city, town, village of birth. In this case, we see the applicant's city, town or village of birth here. 19B requires your state or province of birth if applicable. In this case, it's not. If it's not, then you're going to indicate NA. Country of birth is required in 19C, and 20, date of birth. Remember to always put a 2-digit month, 2 digits day, and 4 digits year. Continuing, information about your last arrival in the United States. Form I-94, arrival, departure record number, if any. If you have an arrival or departure record number, you're going to put it in this section. If you have a passport number, you're going to be providing it in 21B, passport number of your most recently issued passport. So this is self-explanatory. 21C is asking for a travel document number, if any. We see that this applicant does not have one, so it's indicated as NA, meaning not applicable. 21D, country that issued your passport or travel document. So since the applicant here provided a passport number, this would indicate the country that issued that passport. 21E, expiration date of your passport or travel document. You provide it in this section. Again, month, 2 digits, day, 2 digits, and year, 4 digits. Date of your last arrival into the United States, on or about. That question is going to be answered at number 22 in the space. Again, this section is looking for a date. Number 23, place of your last arrival into the United States. You could put your city as well as your state. Number 24, immigration status at your last arrival. For example, B2 visitor or F1 student or no status. So you would put the category that is applicable to you here. In this case, we're seeing that this applicant is a B2 visitor. So that was the status or status at her last arrival. 25, your current immigration status or category. B2 visitor. And number 26, student and exchange visitor information system number, if any. In this case, it's none. If you have one, then you would be required to fill it in the section here. We're continuing. Information about your eligibility category. Refer to the who may file Form I-765 section of the Form I-765 instructions to determine the appropriate eligibility category for this application. Enter the appropriate letter and number for your eligibility category below, for example, and there's an example here. So it is extremely important that before you complete this form, you visit the website, USCIS website at www.uscis.gov and look at the Form I-765 and look at the guidelines to see the eligibility categories and which category you fall under. so that you can put the correct information at number 27. And under that section, it's going to say who may file Form I-765. So once you go to the guidelines on the Form I-765, you're going to see that information, and that's where you find the applicable information to you. 28. If you entered the eligibility category C3C in item number 27, provide the information requested in item numbers 28A and 28B. In this case, it's not applicable. We're moving on to 28C. Employer's E-Verify company identification number or a valid E-Verify client company identification number. Again, this section is not applicable to us. By the way, if we had filed under the category mentioned in 28, then we would be required to answer questions 28A to 28C. So for this applicant, none of this is applicable since her category is C9. 29 refers to C26 eligibility category, and if you entered the eligibility category of C26 in item number 27, provide the receipt number of your H-1B spouse's most recent Form I-797 notice for Form I-129 petition for a non-immigrant worker. This is not applicable to this applicant since her category is C9. However, that is why it's important for you to know what your category is, to know which questions are applicable to you. Follow-up questions, that is. Number 30 makes reference to persons filing under C8 category. If you entered this eligibility category, C8 in item number 27, have you ever been arrested for and or convicted of any crime? So if you are C8 eligibility category, then you would need to answer this section. We do not answer this section in our case since this is not the category of the applicant. Number 31 is making reference to eligibility category C35. Again, this is not applicable to this applicant, so we put NA. Number 31B, if you entered the eligibility category C35. So again, this is not the applicant's category, so we would not address this section. Moving on. Applicant statement, contact information, declaration, certification, and signature. Note: read the penalties section of the Form I-765 instructions before completing this section. You must file Form I-765 while in the United States. So this is again self-explanatory. If you are overseas, you would not be eligible to file Form I-765. Applicant statement. Note: select the box for either item number 1A or 1B. If applicable, select the box for item number 2. 1A, I can read and understand English, and I have read and understand every question and instruction on this application and my answer to every question. So again, you would look at the section and answer you're going to select the category that's applicable to you. If you used an interpreter you would be selecting 1B. In this case, the applicant was the one who completed the form on her own, so that's why this box is selected. At my request, the preparer named in part 5. So if someone other than the applicant completed the form, then this would be the box that is checked. Continuing, applicant's contact information. You're required to put your daytime telephone number at 3, mobile telephone number at 4, and email address at 5. 6. Select this box if you are a Salvadoran or Guatemalan national eligible for benefits under the ABC settlement agreement. If this is not applicable to you, you're going to leave this box unchecked. Moving on, applicant's declaration and certification. So you are required to read the entire section here before signing the form. Applicant's signature. Be sure to sign the form after you have printed it, and the same day or date you are signing, you should also be dating your form. Remember the format: 2-digit month, 2 digits day, and 4 digits year. Note to all applicants: if you do not completely fill out this application or fail to submit required documents listed in the instructions, USCIS may deny your application. Moving on to part 4, interpreter's contact information. This is applicable to be completed only if you used an interpreter. We see here that one was not used, so we indicate NA for not applicable. Moving on, interpreter's contact information. All of this section would be not applicable since an interpreter was not used and should be indicated as such. So the entire section, once the form is printed, indicate not applicable in these spaces. The objective should be not to leave any spaces blank or unattended unless you are directed to move on. Contact information, declaration, and signature of the person preparing this application if other than the applicant. Again, a preparer was not used for this form, so all the section is NA. If you use a preparer, and again a preparer is a person who completed the document on your behalf, for all this section requiring preparer's information, it's not applicable in this case. And we move on to part 5, contact information, declaration, and signature of the person preparing this application if other than the applicant, and we're continuing from the previous page. All this would not be applicable to be checked if a preparer was not used. And again, in this section, you're going to either type or print NA. Part 6, additional information. If you need extra space to provide any additional information within this application, use the space below. If you need more space than what is provided, you may make copies of this page to complete and file with this application, or attach a separate sheet of paper. Type or print your name and a number, if any, at the top of each sheet. Indicate the page number, part number, and item number to which your answer refers, and sign and date each sheet. So this is self-explanatory. The section is provided for your name, last name, first name, middle name, A number if applicable, if none, indicate none here, and page number, part number, and item number for each additional information which corresponds with the previous sections. And if you do not have any additional information for this section, then you're going to indicate NA, write your name or type your name here just the same, and indicate NA for all sections that you're not using up. So this pretty much concludes the completion of Form I-765. Thank you for watching, and catch you in the next video.